All right, good morning, boys and girls. We are going to continue our understanding of ordered pairs and coordinate grids that we began talking about last week. Our goals today are going to be to understand how we can now use a coordinate grid to mark and identify points following a specific rule or pattern. We're also going to understand ordered pairs and how we can use ordered pairs to identify points on a grid or to mark points of our own. So we're going to get started. Just a quick refresher, friends. Last week we talked about this now having a new name. We might have just called this graph paper before. Now we're going to give it a specific name and call it a coordinate grid or a coordinate plane. Some of the things that were really important that we talked about last week: coordinate grids are made when an x-axis and a y-axis meet. If you remember, we named the place where they meet. We gave that a special name. We called it the origin. So those are sort of three vocab words that we really need to make sure that we are all aware of. That we have our x-axis, which goes horizontally, and we have our y-axis, which goes vertically. The difference between last week and this week is what we notice is our axis, both of them, either x and y, have numbers on them. So it's basically like two number lines that have intersected. We're going to now be able to use those numbers to talk about specific points on our coordinate plane. So the one thing that I want to talk to you guys about is now that our coordinate grids have numbers on them, those are actually the numbers that are going to help us identify coordinates or certain marks or places on our map. Or on our coordinate grid. So if you see here, we're going to start talking today about ordered pairs. If you think about those words together, ordered pairs, there are going to be two numbers that are ordered together that help us identify certain points on the coordinate grid. The reason why we call them ordered pairs is because the x-coordinate, as you can see here, the x-coordinate is always what comes first in an ordered pair, and then the y-coordinate is what comes second. So if we look at point 3, 5, marked this way, we can think 3 is our x-coordinate, 5 is our y-coordinate. If you look at the red and blue arrows, you can actually see that our coordinate grid is already set with point 3, 5. So the important thing, friends, whenever you are identifying a point on a coordinate grid, you always move on the x-coordinate first and then the y-coordinate. So whatever your x-coordinate is, you count that first along the horizontal line, and then you count your y-coordinate on the vertical line. So point 3, 5, if you'll notice, take a second and identify what item on the map is listed at point 3, 5. Well, first I'm going to move my x-coordinate 3. So I always start at the origin, 0, 0, and I count 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to count up 5, or I'm going to go the y-axis 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Amy's house is at coordinate 3, 5. So just remember, with ordered pairs, friends, the x-coordinate always comes first, then the y-coordinate. So I'd like to have you pause for a second in your journal. Write down what coordinate matches the library. What coordinate matches the library? So your coordinate should look just like this, with your x-coordinate first and then your y-coordinate. What matches the library? The next question I'd like to ask you is, what item on the map is listed at point 6, 3? What point on the map is listed at 6, 3? So remember, x-coordinate first, then y-coordinate. What is listed at 6, 3? Take a moment and you'll answer that in just a sec. So friends, we are now looking at another coordinate grid with a different set of plotted points. I want you to answer the following questions. You'll be stopped in a second by Edpuzzle to answer the following questions. So what is the coordinate for point A? So find point A on the coordinate grid and tell me what the actual XY coordinates are. And my second question to you is what point is at coordinate 6, 6? Now, remember friends, always count your x-axis first, then count your y-axis. So make sure you're using these points to count, or use the numbers along the x and y-axis to count your x-coordinate, then your y-coordinate. Alright friends, so we are transitioning our understanding from looking at a grid as just a way that we can map things to now have very specific languaging we can use to talk about coordinate grids. The first thing that I want you to make sure that you take away from this video is that coordinate grids are made up of an x and y axis. X goes horizontally, y goes vertically. Both of those axes meet at the origin, or point 0, 0, because that's 0 on the x-axis and 0 on the y-axis. The other thing that we need to make sure we take away from this video, friends, is that when you are talking about coordinate points, you always list the x point and then the y point. For example, point B is 4, 3. 4 along the x-axis, 3 along the y-axis. So hopefully we understand coordinate grids a little bit better today. We are going to do a little bit more practice work when we're done this video in our journals. Thanks.